Ma quanto l'hanno pagato? È un po' gracilino.
Come già sai, inizierà nella nostra primavera.
Sei un calciatore ora.
A questo livello, talento, tecnica, velocità, sono tutti secondari a qualcos'altro. Una disperazione negli occhi che dice: preferirei morire che fallire.
Thank you very much for being here with us at the Corriere dello Sport, Martin. You are the protagonist of the story told by the movie. You were a 16 former Swedish talent of Inter Primavera, who today is something completely different because you are a writer and you're a musician. But a little bit of that short experience in professional football has remained inside of you in a very tragic way. Is it right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's couple of years now ago. I mean, I'm 35 now. This happened when I was 17, but of course, it's a memories and an experience that I carry with me every day in many ways, and is the background to the choices I made and the directions in life. But also, I remember it with a lot of joy. I mean, it's a dark side, but I also had a lot of great experiences in football as well, and in Italy.
Okay, this is one of the next questions. We will arrive at this too. What were your first impressions after seeing the movie, a movie based on your autobiographical book, In the Shadows of San Siro, from 2007, I think, if I don't remind. How hard was to come back in time after you seen the movie?
I think the first time I saw it, I mean, in the cutting, when they were still in process of it, that was the hardest time. And I mean, Sandal, the director, have had the artistic freedom, with my blessings, to go away from some of the actual facts in my biography and in my story. But still, he is able to capture a lot of the feeling of being imprisoned, and the feeling of having a struggle with identity, and the pressure of the environment there, and the capitalism, and all that was really touching, especially the scenes that was taking place in the house where we lived with the Primavera team. So it was of course very emotional, and still when I saw it the other week now, when it was the gala here in Stockholm, and still I get touched. I get emotionally touched by it.
I saw it at the Italian at the Rome Film Festival when you presented, and you were in Rome too.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was for me such a kind of love at first sight, because it is a delicate attention to a lot of themes in this movie, in particular in depression, because you explained that depression is a disease that too many people are wrongly ashamed of. But you are the proof that this is a disease that can be cured.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think a lot of time we talk about depression as something that you just carry. What I want to point out with my story also is that, yeah, some parts you carry, and some parts is actually created by the environment you're in, and the football world and the football industry especially, it can be very hard on the human being. Like everything is so blown up there, like the pressure, the money, and all that. So it become a window into the human being that is a bit kind of more extended. The feelings get bigger, and also the lows are getting lower in a way because of this pressure. So, but yes, I was able to turn this into something, and that was because of writing. Writing saved me. Writing have been my lifeline basically after that experience. So I'm thankful for writing and music. Yeah, music and writing. It was like writing songs was part of the therapy in many ways, and that led into other writing expressions, and theater and film and so on. So yeah.
Another theme is the failure in football. This is not covered, especially when you are young. There is a scene in the movie when you can be seen talking to an Inter manager, and he says, there are 10 other guys outside of that door ready to cut their arms just to be here in your place. If you fail here, you are nothing. You go back to your country and you're a loser. It seems to me a perfect synthesis of how football exploits a young person without thinking too much about their psychological consequences of all this pressure. You know, players is just a kind of products with a price attached. And you felt in that way.
What I think the football, a lot of football clubs are missing, I think they will do in the long run worse result by having that kind of mentality. Because I do believe that people, I mean, there is a pressure, there is different kinds of things you have to go through to come to the top. But still the clubs, I think that might be Inter, or that might be Swedish clubs or Italian clubs or top level clubs. If they would really understand, they have so many specialists for all the body parts, but if they would really put the effort in trying to work out the psychology and what makes a human being feel good and feel safe in a very high pressured environment, then also that would kick back on the results on the pitch. I really believe so.
But if we focused about the player, you know, often the problems of the players come out later. You start at the beginning, but a lot of players talks about this after their career is over. A football player looks back and sometimes realizes that his dream, however wonderful and fulfilled, bring him not the happiness he wanted and he reached. His dream has turned into a prison, you know. It's a golden prison, yeah, but it's still a prison.
Yeah, I mean, I talked with a lot of players who have been active and on a top level, and a lot describes the same thing. They come out of it and they feel very lost, and they also talk about that while they were in it, they didn't dare to speak about it, that there is a culture of, you know, silence in many ways, where you're not supposed to talk about your feelings first of all, and also where you are afraid of actually showing your emotions because you're also in combat and with other players. So showing emotions can be bad for you in that sense when you're a player. So you're totally right.
You are a writer and musician, so the worst is behind your back, and now you are quite achieved, thankfully. But do you still play football? Do you see matches on TV or at the stadium, or football is a word that you just don't care about it anymore?
You see, Simone, for many years, I just had to cut it. You know, I didn't like to watch football. I didn't like to, you know, play football or anything. But then the last kind of maybe 5 years or so, I have started to sneak out in the nights with the ball, because sometimes you have a very high pressure when you write as well, you know, and you have deadlines and all that. And then, you know, just my own connection with the ball, to be at the yard and just kick it a little bit and feel that you're okay. This is something that I have in my body. This is something that I actually can do when I feel bad confidence in writing, for example. It have become in a weird way, something familiar that can help me, you know, relax from other things, which I think is beautiful in the end. You know, football as an industry or as something to work in was not for me, obviously. Yeah. But as a recreation tool or meditation, it has become very practical for me. So now I have another connection to football. I watch football. I followed Italy and the European Championship, of course, and was happy for them, and also Sweden, the women's team now in the Olympic Games and so on. So I watch football sometimes, but I not follow it kind of obsessively in any way. No.
Did you give some advice, some tips to the great actor that you interpreted in the movie, Eric Eng? This is a good football player too.
Yeah, I mean, they create a lot at the film set, of course. You know, he is a very great football player at the upper side, and you use tricks in filming things to make it look perfect. I mean, it's brilliant in his football scenes.
Today, there are still many of Martin Bengtsson in football, but if it is possible, the situation is even more complicated because the business has grown, the agents dictate the rules, and the expectations towards these very young boys like you were in Inter are exaggerated and unsustainable. What advice would you like to give to a young who finds himself in the condition in which you find yourself at Inter?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and
Yeah.
I like to turn it. I like to turn it to the clubs. You know, what advice do I have for the clubs? Because a lot of time we put that on the individual. Like how because that says that, okay, this world can't be changed. You know, so it becomes about adapting or not. I think the question should be for the clubs, like what can they do to have as many young talents feeling good while they're in their academies, you know, because that will make them improve. So what can they look at? They need to look more holistic, you know, how school, like family situation, like, yeah, what do they need in form of, you know, getting to know the language, all these things that helps you get into the society and all that. I mean, you need a lot of different things to actually feel good about your situation, and if you do that, I believe that then your skills on the pitch will improve.
So last question, when you go back thinking about that period, about your life as a professional player, is there a moment that you remember positively, that you enjoyed living? You said at the beginning of the interview, it was not everything bad. There was something good too. When you go back in time and think about that period.
Yeah. I had it at the Abbiamo Gentile, one of the first games we played against the first team. I get the ball on the left side of the pitch, and I was going towards Emre, I think. I did a little dribble there around him, and then I got close to Materazzi and I kicked it, did a dribble and kicked it around him, and then I got 3 or 4 meters. And these 3 or 4 meters, when I just had, you know, dribbled Materazzi, I felt great. But then 2 seconds later, he kicked me like really bad. You know, I was falling to the ground, and just like Materazzi can do, you know.
Materazzi didn't
those seconds.
Materazzi kicked a lot of person, not just you.
Exactly. I can feel proud about that.
Yeah.
It's me and Zidane.
Yeah.
Certo che devi essere costato parecchio.
Perché?
Perché ti detestano già tutti.
Nei tuoi occhi, Martin, ho visto qualcuno pronto a fare dei sacrifici per ottenere quello che vuole. Noi ti abbiamo dato la chance che ogni ragazzo sogna. Non sprecarla in questo modo.